Hi, Point Church. Welcome back to the Point Church podcast. This is episode 6, and we're with Melissa Agosta, right? That's correct.
That's good.
Y'all should know her by her beautiful smile through a mask at the front door at registration for Kid Point, and then she also serves at the Care Pantry every other weekend, and the multiple things that you do for the Point Church, possibly, and in your community. I know that you're definitely helpful and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to interview you. How are you feeling today?
I feel great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited. So let's start with the beginning.
Okay.
Early life. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Okay, so I was born in Michigan, and I lived there until I was about 13. And then my family actually moved to North Carolina. I had one younger sister. She was 6. And so we kind of went through that whole adjusting. I mean, when you're 13, you don't want to be ripped away from your friends and your school and everything. So I was so resentful, what is this North Carolina going to be like? But, ended up being here all through college. I went to Elon College right down the road in Burlington. And I actually ended up meeting my husband here and starting my career here. After that, he was a Marine stationed at Cherry Point Air Station. And then after that just kind of, we went from there. But that's early life.
Yeah, that's
very
awesome.
Quickly.
I love it because I definitely have plenty of questions to ask because I know that you have a very interesting life So you said that you started your career here. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What does that look like? How'd you start that?
So when I was in college, I started working for the Belk department store and started working for L'Oreal brands like Lancome. I was one of those ladies at the counter that wanted to do your lipstick and do your makeup and all of that. So I was fascinated. I also worked at a yogurt store. I had a lot of different jobs just trying to make ends meet during college. So I can definitely relate to what it's like to be going to college.
Oh, trust me. Struggling right now.
I know. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. So that led to doing that all during college. Then after college, I started taking on roles where I was in charge of a series of stores and a group of people. And then I became interested in training and education in the cosmetics industry, especially skincare. I'm definitely into ingredients and science and natural things. And it ended up being taking me all the way up to moving to California and really running brands. So running a skincare brand for L'Oreal and being their head of education internationally. And it just escalated. 25 years later, it was my career for 25 years. So it was wonderful.
Nice.
I learned a lot. But, I was traveling all the time, and it was hard because I was, once I wanted to be a mom and all of that, things kind of changed.
Yeah.
But I just really went for it. I got my degree in English and computer science, which is a paradox, I know.
No, I'm an English major too. So
yes, that's right. We talked about that. So I've used all my skills in what I do now, having my own business, and I'm grateful for all that time. And everything that I learned during school and also during L'Oreal, the time there.
So for those who don't know what your new business is, what exactly is that and how did that start? What made you want to start doing what you're doing?
So a lot of things led to it, but we'll get back to life-changing events and things like that probably. But I was laid off several times during my career at L'Oreal. And at a certain point, you kind of have to decide, do I want to keep doing this? They always invite you back and have you run other things, but quality of life, where you want to go, what you want to do. And so I had a lot of decisions to make. And the last time I was laid off, I actually had to get a really huge surgery that would kind of put me down for a lot of months. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to have the surgery. I have a severance. I mean, I have been there 25 years. So they took care of me. Thank goodness.
That's really nice.
And then I had to think about what was I going to do. So I formed a consultancy called MTA Consultants Collective. And that way I could bring in a collective of friends from my industry that had different aptitudes in different things. Like I'm great at writing materials for people to learn things. I write down how you train people, how do you speak in front of people, how do you address audiences, all these different things,
Yeah.
How do you coach people? How do you mentor people? But then there's other people that are great at video production or that are great at drawing up creative materials and graphics and binding things and printing things. And that's just not what I do. So that was the intent. And I did do some of that. But then it turned into something completely different because I had an experience personally with hemp products. I needed something, a natural solution. I was having some pain and some different things. And I had this remarkable result. And I thought, I have to tell people about this. Everybody was asking me, how are you volunteering at your kid's elementary school? And you just had surgery a few months ago. And what's going on with you? People just kept asking me. And I thought, I guess I have to talk about it, you know? And you have to be careful because everybody has different feelings about what hemp is and if it's the other thing. And, you know, there was so much education to do about it 5 years ago. But I knew that in a way, all these years, like this was my purpose. This is why I was here, was to help people. And in a bigger way than I was doing at L'Oreal. I mean, at L'Oreal, we did amazing things. We went to, you know, New Orleans after Katrina and helped people. We painted schools and we always did amazing things for people the whole time I was there, but it wasn't a direct connection to someone's well-being. And health and their family and their kids with intractable diseases and just so many amazing things. So the business became the Hemp Lifestyle Network. So through my consultancy, I also run a business called the Hemp Lifestyle Network, and that's how we help people start businesses in the hemp industry and help others get access to hemp products that they need.
Wow.
Yeah.
And like, so you starting your own business, I know that could be scary at times. Was there any
Terrifying.
point where you were just like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Like you said that this was your purpose. So like when did it finally hit you that you're like, no, this is something?
Well, you know, you worry about finances. I mean, I was highly paid at L'Oreal. I mean, I was way into the six figures and, you know, life in California and a big house and just all the things. But that didn't mean that we were happy or that we had a life that was fulfilling. You know, there's always more. It's not about the things that you buy. And I always felt that way, but that was just where I was. And I gave a lot of money. I always helped people. Like I helped my sister pay for college and get a car. And I always helped my mom. I did anything I could with my money when I had it. But still, I had to step back and say, I can do this with less money. You know, and part of it was giving up a lot of lifestyle things and making choices that, you know, we had to agree upon. You know, my husband and I, and Brooks was growing up in this lifestyle and he's fine. He's so resilient. But you don't know when you're a parent. It's a chain reaction of events when you make a choice. So it was mainly about finances. Could I do it and still survive and pay my mortgage, you know, and feed my family? And I ended up doing that. So I just had to believe. I just had to keep going and just not give up, really. Pray a lot about it, a lot. Always just having faith in it, you know, that it was right. No matter what people thought or what they said, because there was adversity, of course.
Yes, of course. And that's so awesome to hear because I know that a lot of people like give up on their dreams and their purpose because of finances or because there's so much like people going back against it. So did you have a lot of backlash from like friends and family when you started out?
No, I just think my direct family was very supportive and my husband always 100% supportive of everything I did. I mean, when you're in a marriage, you go through seasons of where one person has more and the other person has less, and you just agree that in each time you're going to adapt and flow and help each other. And we knew that we would be that way from the beginning. So sometimes he was making more and sometimes I was, and it just always came out in the wash, and we just tried to keep each other going.
Yeah. I love that. Going into, cause I'm a big relationship buff. Like I love hearing about love stories. So tell me more about your relationship with your husband. Like, I know that y'all, we talked a little bit about it, before this of, you know, how your relationship adapted with your faith and even Jesus Christ. So I think that would be really cool for the viewers to see how a relationship, a godlike relationship can grow and like, you know, definitely help someone with their faith. So
yeah, I mean, we come from two very different religious backgrounds. When I met Mike, he had just returned from Desert Storm, and he was in Somalia, and he's been in a lot, you know, being a Marine, and he's seen a lot. And so when we met, it was just instant. You know, Mike wanted to marry me, and I had just gotten out of college, and I wanted to just kind of explore what I was going to do. And I wanted to be with him, but I didn't know that I wanted to be a married person yet. And I certainly wasn't ready to be a mother yet, I didn't think. So, he was Catholic. He came from a Catholic background, and I was brought up Methodist. And so when we got married, there were certain members of his family that were not very happy that Mike was not marrying a Catholic woman and that we didn't have a Catholic wedding. And most of them weren't able to attend because we actually got married here in North Carolina and they're all in California. His parents were there and I love them to death, and a couple of his sisters. But, for us, we had to find a solution to that. His mother thought that he actually lost religion by being in the military and being in war and seeing a lot of horrible things. And that wasn't the case. He always had his faith and believed. He just wasn't going to church, and he was not practicing Catholicism and didn't believe in what that church stood for him, But I found a lot of beauty in it when we would go with his family. I found things that I never experienced in my church experience and my upbringing. So I could appreciate it all. I had been to many different kinds of churches with friends, but I think we had to find a non-denominational place that we could go, and it took us a long, long time to find places. We tried different places, but until we moved to North Carolina a few years ago, after all these years being married, we really didn't land on a place that we both enjoyed and that engaged both of us. And really, my husband was the main one that wanted us to come here and continue going here. So I was so proud of him. And it's been amazing for us, to be able to have that together and to have Brooks here with us, my son who's 12, be a part of it. It's unreal.
That is so awesome. And so what was that like what drew you to the Point Church? I mean, and you even said that, coming to church, you didn't think that you needed to come to church to have a faith in God. So
before.
What changed your mind about that?
I have always been a believer in God, and I've always been a faithful person. And I've always believed that there is a higher power guiding us, and let go, let God, and those types of things.
Yeah.
But I was more into spirituality versus being in church every single week. And I didn't realize what the difference was because, we would go to church on holidays, and sometimes we'd go every week, and sometimes we wouldn't.
Yeah.
It was very sporadic. Vacation Bible school, growing up Methodist, that's what you did.
Definitely.
In Sunday school. So I learned everything, and I wanted my son to have that same thing. But I think that once I started coming and realizing the community and the keeping you on track and just the little things that you would pick up on to remind you of why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing with your life, because you can easily get misdirected within minutes from leaving church. It needs to be consistent in your life. And we wanted to be around people that were positive and had maybe similar ideals to us. And you don't know when you walk into a church what that's going to be like. And for some reason, it just clicked here. And we literally just looked up churches online that were close to our house. This was meant to be. God brought us here, I'm sure. It's
yes,
go to this
Lord
one, go to this one. And we
Yeah.
just came and stayed. We did not go to any other churches.
Wow.
Period. And we thought we'd try a bunch, but we ended up not. We just stayed here. So it was right.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I know that a lot of people actually have that same philosophy of it's controversial. Some people are just like, no, you have to come to church every Sunday, and you have to, that's the way that you grow your faith, and that's the only way that you can get into heaven. That if you come every Sunday, not what relationship you have with God, not what you're doing in your quiet time. They're always just like, you got to be at church.
And maybe
every
that's
Sunday.
why I was cynical about it, because there probably a lot of my upbringing, people around me made me feel like that.
Yeah.
And then, once you start getting something out of it, sure, if you don't come every now and then, there's reasons for that, but there's other ways to, notice the day and acknowledge what day it is and what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So all the online worshiping has been kind of fun too.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's been good.
And I do think that the church it's not a building. It's a family. It's people. And like, that's what makes the Point Church so great, because like we're bigger than just, our small Chapel Hill location.
Right.
We're much larger than that. And I think
Yeah.
that it's important to recognize that, the days that you can't come to church, that doesn't mean automatically you're 2 steps behind other people and like you're not going to heaven. It just means that, God wants to speak to you in other ways. There are more ways that you can help in the church by serving. Like,
Yes.
for those who are even only watching online, like, just because you're online doesn't mean that you can't be still a part of us, be a part of the church, the online community, and even just like, hey, what are ways that I can donate to the care pantry? Like, I can't be there physically, but what are ways that I can be there emotionally, spiritually, praying for those people? Like,
I agree.
I think that it's so much bigger than just these 4 walls. And like, because I grew up in a church where it was just very similar, of just like, you have to go to church every day.
It's what it makes you feel like inside. Like, if it empowers you more to give back and help and do something to reach out to someone you wouldn't otherwise do. I've always volunteered my entire life, but I've never volunteered weekly like I do now that I'm part of the Point. I'm passionate about the care pantry. It isn't always easy, doing what we do there, but I get to talk to every single person who comes up in their car, and I register them, and they know me now. I mean, there's a lady, bless her heart, she hears my voice and she goes, "Hey, Melissa, how are you?" She's so cute.
That.
And it just makes me smile. And I think, we're giving them something, but they're giving us something too, because when you give back to people, that's the real reason why people are together. Why would you not do that? Do whatever you can, even if you can't afford it. And it's not about money. It's just about you and your body being somewhere helping someone sometimes.
Yeah. And to me, you're giving them the best gift of all. Like, yes, we're giving them like meeting their needs, but also we're showing them a glimpse of Jesus. And to me, I think that's the best gift you can give somebody, because like, as Christians, like, we know what life we had before Jesus. So like, when you have them, you're just like, I need to share that, similar to your him. Like, once you have it and it's changed your life, you need to share it. And I think that serving and even being part of a church, because that's the thing. It's like, to me, it's like, it reminds me of like family dinners every week. You know what I mean? That you would have like after church or something like that. Like, I would love for that to be a tradition of my future family, but of just like going to church on Sunday mornings, and you're able to meet with your church family and like catch up with people that you probably don't see during the week.
It's true.
And
it's very good for the family.
So I do think church is very important, but it doesn't define your relationship with God.
Exactly.
And that's something.
It can be private too. It can be twofold. Absolutely.
So I want to know a little bit more deeper about you, and I'm going to ask you a personal question. What is the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
Okay. Probably when I lived in Connecticut and I worked in New York City. I had to commute to New York City every day for 3 years. And before that, I was traveling in New York City every week on an airplane from California. So I was in New York City a lot for a long period of time, 10-year period. And during that time that I lived there, Mike and I were in a very serious car accident. That was over one of the bridges leaving Manhattan going over to Queens, and it changed everything. So Mike, thank God, was not injured that badly. He had a few pieces of glass in his hair, in his head, and he was fine. I broke 10 bones above my waist.
Wow. And
I was full speed ahead. I was doing my career traveling. Mike and I were traveling all over the place. He wanted to be a dad. I did not want to be a mom at that time. Yeah. And it was just, looking back, it was selfish. It was kind of a selfish life. It was a good life, but it was also selfish. But in that moment of being in the emergency ICU in a hospital, Bellevue in New York City, everything changed. They rushed me to the hospital, and my collarbone was one of the bones that was broken, and it was literally severed. It was hanging in my body, so they had to rush me into surgery.
Oh, wow.
And I went into surgery, and I could see my body. I was looking down at myself, and I thought, I'm dead. I can see my body. I see the surgeons. I see the nurses. I see everybody yelling and screaming and working on me. Wow. And I must be dead, and I didn't die. And so when I came to consciousness, I remembered everything crystal clear from that moment. And that was definitely a moment of like God saying, okay, you're not done yet, but let's do this differently kind of moment.
Wow.
And I'm trying not to get upset right now, but everything changed at that moment.
Yeah.
I recovered at home for 9 months and didn't work. And I just literally, I couldn't lift either of my arms. My mom came to live with us, and then she just lived with us after that forever until we moved here, helping out. And we decided to be parents because we knew we had been denying Brooks coming into the world. We knew there was this little soul floating around our presence, and I can't even explain that, but we just knew there was a child that needed to be with us. We just didn't know how or when, and that was like a catalyst. Like you literally have to be shaken sometimes to do.
Yeah.
So that was a big obstacle. It changed how I viewed my career. I didn't leave L'Oreal. I just had to shift a little bit how I worked, and my function changed, but I kept going with my career, believe it or not. That should have been the moment that I started my own business, actually, but no, not yet. Not yet. That was in 2001 or 2. 9/11 was 2001, correct? I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And then I was in the city for 9/11, so that was also another obstacle that we had to overcome. But after that, we just had to decide, what are we going to do? And it began this journey of trying to have a child, and that took 5 years after that accident. So many surgeries, so many procedures, so many fertility treatments, and we never gave up. You know, when I heard the couple that was up here on stage a few weeks ago speak, they brought me to tears, and I went and spoke to them and said, it's our story, so similar, and I know exactly what you're going through, and it's a miracle when it happens, you know, and it's only at the right time, because you have a lot of things to learn, you know, before you are a parent, and I think we had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And when it actually happened, I thought, okay, we overcame the obstacle, because
Yeah.
all the pain and all the surgeries and all the things, you know, and now here's this life. It's all worth it,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh my gosh, you're about to put me to tears.
Me
Because
too.
I literally.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I love it. You know that this should be the screenshot. That way people watch it like, oh, they're crying. Because like Brooks is just the sweetest little boy,
thank
and
you.
I could not imagine the youth group without him.
He's so
And
special.
He's so special and
Yeah.
so smart and intuitive and like.
He's an old soul. Have you heard that saying?
Oh yes, I'm
He's
an old
been
soul
around.
too, so we get along great.
Yes.
Like, we can like sit on the porch and like yell at youngsters like get off our lawn. Like he's just
That's right.
so adorable, and you're doing such a great job as a mom. So like
Aw,
to even
thank you.
think of a time where you were just like, nah, I don't want kids. It's like,
I know. I actually said to Mike when I finally agreed to marry him that, and we never lived in the same state even. I mean, we had to find a time when it would work, but I said, don't marry me to be a mother. You have to accept the fact that I may never want to be a mom.
oh.
I can't
God
believe I
had
said that.
Another plan for you. God
know.
had a whole different
It's like,
plan.
And Mike said, okay, because Mike wanted to be a dad as soon as possible. He comes from a very large Italian family with lots of kids. And,
Yeah.
I mean, 5 older sisters and a brother. He has a very large family. I
Yeah.
have my sister, and it's just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
So it's different.
I have a little sister, and like, I don't know how mom would have done it with 6 more of us running
No,
around.
imagine.
but yeah. Brooks is literally just so amazing.
Aw, thank
So
you.
you're a busy gal. You're doing your own business. You know, you're raising your son. You have a beautiful relationship with your husband and the church. And how do you rest? Like, when do you have the time to like have your quiet time with God and make sure that you're, you know, taking care of yourself, especially like before you take care of everyone else?
It's hard. When I talk to God is whenever. It's all the time. Like when I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed at night, when I'm walking the dogs twice a day, when I have a moment alone in the bathroom, like anything. You know, luckily Brooks is 12, so he's very self-sufficient. So I don't have to cater to him 24/7 like people with small children.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of time where it's just me hanging out. I have maybe 15 minutes I read at night. Sometimes, or I watch a show on TV with Brooks at night after everything else is done, and that's about it. Yeah, That's it. Just finding the little moments.
The little
but
moments.
always talking, always praying, even little things, just a little something in the car, driving in the car and just having a moment with the radio on and, thinking and just stopping the craziness for a moment.
Yeah, and you even said that you like printed out that prayer like from the
Colossians.
Church. Yeah, from Colossians.
Yeah.
And so like, do you do that often? Whenever like something comes up, you're like, I need to put this out there.
I'm very visual.
Me too.
Yeah, if I don't see something, I don't remember. I have Post-it notes. I had to clean off my desk for the new year because 2020 was still sitting there on my desk when I went back into my office this week, and I went, okay, I got to
Get
clear
rid of that.
Clear the craziness. And part of it is I have to see it, in front of me.
Yeah.
So when we do our mom's group with Sharon, I will sometimes print out the lesson, or I'll look at it before, I'll watch a video before, because then it's more real to me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm very much a visual person too, because I print out like Bible scriptures that like have helped me, or like if a sermon, like something sticks out from it, I'm just like, I need to see this more often. Like I need to realize that I'm a child of God, that I'm a follower of Jesus, and like put that up there and remind myself who I am to
It's
like
important.
humble me. And
it's like a vision board.
yes,
That should be included in the vision board.
That could be a fun little mom's thing, like making vision boards together.
It's
or something.
time. It's the vision board time. It's like, yeah, we should.
So I guess from there, I mean, I'll ask you the question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
What's the point? I mean, what does the Point Church mean to you?
It's just a place for us to come and be with people who also believe and who also have faith and just want to help the world instead of hinder it, and just be positive lights out there, inspirational. And I don't think people realize they're doing that, but even just being around their energy, I'm a big person on vibes and energy, and I feel it, when I'm around people. And I think just being in that environment, especially now, and we're all separated, and we are really not doing anything else but church right now. We are not gathering with anyone else in any way, really, except Zooms and maybe in a driveway with my family, my sister and my mom. And maybe taking my mom to doctor's appointments, but that's not fun.
Yeah.
We just do. So that's the point. It's like find a place that enriches you and that, can give you some value to your life, because there's a lot of things out there that we're pursuing that don't have the value we think. For someone who's now 51 and thinking back on all the different things that I've experienced, a lot of it's not worth it, but you have to go through it so you can realize the difference later. I think that's important. Like, don't say, oh, I did that and I did that. Don't judge yourself, because you need those experiences. I mean, I had some crazy days back in the day. We're not talking about that on this podcast. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't know like the difference between what I'm doing now and experiencing now. I don't need all that stuff now, because I'm more fulfilled now and I'm more content. Chris had a sermon one day when we first started, and he said something about being able to be content. And I thought, that's what people don't have. No one's content. Everyone's always trying to do and get something else. And when do you get to be content? When you die?
Yeah.
There's people that are old and they're not content yet. And it's the saddest thing. And I just want to try to be content and have my family feel good about what we have right now, today. This is good. Let's live, It's beautiful.
Oh, you're just a breath of fresh air.
Aw,
I enjoy so much talking to you, and it's just an honor to have you at our church. And
Thank you. I love it.
It's just great, because it's very encouraging to see that like no matter how hard life is so far, like you overcame that accident, you are pursuing goals, and like you're just such a strong woman. And I think that's often like what we need to see sometimes. Like we see all these pastors and all these strong men, and like I'm just saying, girl power. Like, sorry, Colin.
No, we call our group in the Hemp Lifestyle Network the Can of Women, because we are this force to be reckoned with, and we're caregivers naturally. It's just in us. We're wired for that. Our brains are wired differently. So if we don't do that, then we're kind of holding back on why we're here and what our role is in society.
And then especially to like my big thing is like, the goal is to tell people about Jesus. Like at first I thought the point saying was just like point people to Jesus. Wow, could you be any cheesier kind of thing? But now that like now I
you
literally
get it.
like end my prayers of like, help me point people to Jesus today, God. And I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
I know. I thought that too, but I actually had a conversation with a colleague the other day about this
Yeah.
very topic. And we don't talk a lot about religion in our business, but most of the people I work with are very religious people. They believe because the hemp plant is one of the plants that God put on this earth to heal people. And you
Yeah.
can find it in the Bible, you can find it in a lot of things. So most of the people I work with are like that, but it's not like we talk about that. I don't ask people if, hey, are you exploring that? But I actually did the other day because somebody that I know was recovering from COVID and she had a breakup with her relationship and she was struggling to find, what do I do with my time now? And I thought, well, have you explored your faith lately? Like, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah.
Have you prayed about it? And she goes, I know, I've been thinking only about this. And I'm glad I brought it up. It was a risk in some people's eyes, but I actually felt okay with just bringing it up. And it was more normal than maybe it would have been before.
That is so awesome. I definitely do think that often, like, the way that we live our lives, and no matter how life gets and how busy it gets and how hard it gets, like, the goal is to point people to Jesus through your life, through your relationships with other people and your relationship with your son, and even in the youth group, like
Being an example.
yeah, being the example, being the force to be reckoned
Yes.
with. But thank you so much for being on this podcast.
You're welcome.
It was so awesome talking
Thank
to
you for having me. This was
and
fun.
Definitely, I love more girl talks. Maybe in a future episode we can like maybe get more girls on here and maybe just like a mom's talk of even like advice you have to future mothers or to be in a relationship. I'll take notes for that one.
Sure.
But
We've learned from our mistakes and we are not perfect yet. So don't even think that it's all honky dory, but we can help.
you can tune in every 2 weeks at livech.pointchurch.com. That way, a host will be there to interact with you. I'll be there to kind of answer questions along the way. But also, you can listen to the podcast at any podcast streaming service in your own free time while you're walking the dogs, while you're hanging out with your friends. Just put it on, listen to us, and maybe you might get some encouragement. But see you next time. Thanks for watching.